this meeting to order. If you will all sit down. And as a reminder, if we would all put our cell phones on silent or vibrate, we would greatly appreciate it. We are going to start this morning's meeting with a chaplain prayer, and I think Marcella Jenkins is going to lead us in that prayer.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Will you bow your heads as I pray? Dear God, in the scriptures you have said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. Therefore, I pray that our mayor, Brenda Gunter, for the various levels of the city officials, and in particular for this assembled council, I'm asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern and amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, personal peace in their lives, and joy in their tasks. I pray for the agenda set before them today. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of San Angelo. It is in your most precious name I pray, Jesus. Amen.
And today we are going to welcome the MHMR cheerleaders, the basketball players too, is that right? Well, would you come forward and lead us in our pledges? Come on up here. People with us today, so we're also going to ask Clarita and Chloe Odell from Wall ISD to join us. Got a whole bunch of people to help us today. So what we need to do is turn around and face the flag. Okay? Now we're going to put our hands over our heart, and we're going to start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we're going to do the Texas flag, which is right up here. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. Great job. All right, we're going to have our pictures taken, so why don't we do this first? I'm going to have you all kind of come closer together, the tall guys in the back. You'll just step forward a minute, and then we're going to do separate pictures with you. Okay? All right. We're good. Perfect. Thank you so much. Today we have one proclamation, and it is the proclamation of March 2020 as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. The month of March 2020 has been designated as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month in order to celebrate and recognize people with disabilities. Individuals with development disabilities, their families, friends, neighbors, and coworkers encourage everyone to focus on the abilities of all people. I'm going to stop right there. I'm sure we have somebody from MHMR here that would like to join me up here, and as we continue. We encourage all citizens to support opportunities for individuals with developmental disabilities that include full access to education, housing, employment, and recreation. Therefore, in order to recognize the many contributions and challenges of citizens with developmental disabilities living in San Angelo, I, Brenda Gunter, Mayor of the City of San Angelo, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2020 as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, and encourage all citizens to observe the month with appropriate programs and activities. Furthermore, we encourage all citizens to seek information from those organizations with expertise in matters concerning professionals who support individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Would you like to say a few words?
I can.
Please.
Thank you. Well, thank you, City Council, Mayor Gunter, for having us today and recognizing IDD Awareness Month. How many knew MHMR has a basketball team? And knows we have cheerleaders as well.
They did a great job.
They did a wonderful job. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate y'all coming out. We celebrate March with a huge basketball tournament up at Howard College in Big Spring. We play a lot of other MHMR centers, and for 5 years in a row, we have won that. Not only do we play basketball, but we have cheerleaders that set up and do a halftime performance. And this year, we're going to take the prize for it, I'm sure. But, you know, people with IDD are people and have all the same hopes, dreams, and aspirations that everyone else does. We are very honored in MHMR to be able to support people, and we serve over 500 folks every year with an intellectual disability, whether that's through targeted case management, day programming, respite services for families, residential services, and dual diagnosis clinics for people with an intellectual disability and a mental illness. So we do a whole lot for our community that often doesn't go recognized. You don't see it's very quiet. We hope it's very quiet. And then we support a lot of private providers as they provide residential services. IDD is sometimes being forgotten because it used to be called mental retardation. And overall in our state funding, we have had challenges because it has gotten forgotten. It has been forgotten. So I encourage everyone to not only recognize the month of March for IDD awareness, but also that folks with IDD need supports, need services, need funding statewide. So thank y'all so much for having us and recognizing our guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Oh, let me sign this, and then we'll have a picture taken. We will now open up the meeting for public comment. Issues or concerns not on the regular agenda may be raised by the public at this time. Citizens should speak from the podium, address all comments to the dais, begin by stating their name and address or single-member district, and limit remarks to less than 3 minutes. Do we have anyone here today who would like to offer public comment?
Good morning, Council. Bob Salas, Neighborhood and Family Services. As you may know, we reactivated Keep San Angelo Beautiful, and I'd like to introduce the new Executive Director, Ms. Charlotte Anderson.
Welcome.
Just want to thank you very much for your partnership and our upcoming event. We're really excited to keep San Angelo beautiful again so we can move forward with our cleanup, our recycling, and make sure that our neighborhoods, our businesses reflect the best light of the community.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. My name is Sandra Villarreal. The public, I am the Health Director for the City of San Angelo, Tom Ring County Health Department. I'm here to talk a little bit about coronavirus, not in length. I just want to mention to you guys that we've been monitoring the situation. We started obviously in China December sometime, but we have started basically daily communications with the Department of State Health Services. We've actually had daily calls with them since January, and so it's been over a month. We have these calls. We continue to keep updated on the situation, not only abroad, but here now. And yes, we do have more cases here in the United States, and therefore we want to make sure that people are getting prepared. Our preparedness really is a matter of education right now. And I've been on TV, I think 4 or 5 times now, and print, saying these same things, and I want to say this now in public. We as a public need to continue and address our practices of hygiene. We have to start that now, and actually for the future and for their entire lives. It's something that we have to always be doing, washing our hands. If there is no soap and water available, use that the 95% alcohol-based sanitizer. Don't touch your face, your eyes, your nose, your ears with dirty hands. That does introduce germs into your system. If you are home, if you are sick, please stay home. If you see others that are sick, try to stay away a little bit, distance yourself. We don't want to be unfriendly. It's just a matter of trying to keep us protected and free from illness. We also encourage sanitation, disinfection of common areas. We don't ever realize all the things that we touch on a daily basis: doorknobs, handles, the computers, cell phones, even your remote controls. There's so many things that carry germs. We don't know a whole lot about the coronavirus, but it is a new virus. However, it is a respiratory virus, and we know what to do in order to at least stop the spread of respiratory viruses, very similar to influenza, pertussis, tuberculosis, all those things that we have always preached about for those infectious diseases still carries true for this particular virus. It is just a virus. We know what to do, at least to try to stop it, or at least, I guess, lessen it or slow down the progression of the spread. Is it going to spread in the U.S.? Probably so. We've gone through this before. If y'all remember H1N1 10, 11 years ago, very same thing. It was a novel virus. However, we knew those things. It was still a virus. We knew what to do. We needed to get some time in between now and when either a antiviral or a vaccine is produced. And so all of these measures that the public can take will try to prolong the, basically give the government, whoever is making all of these things and producing these things, some time to basically get them out there for the public, and also will lessen the burden on the healthcare system. We don't want to overwhelm them. So again, if you're home, stay home. If you're sick, stay home. If you are really getting very sick, yes, you need to get health care. However, call in advance. I'm coughing. I want to mention that right now, the risk is still low because there is not widespread community spread. But that is not to say that it could not happen. We just want to remain vigilant. We will let people know. We had to calm a couple of fears because there was some rumors that we had a positive coronavirus, and that is not true. The health
That
department,
again, repeat that.
yes, there is not a positive confirmed case of coronavirus in San Angelo, and those were rumors. We will be the first to know, and the only reason that I say that is because any testing that is performed has to be approved by public health. So right now the system is, if we are testing, it's coming through us, and we're going to know about it, and we will get the reports, and we will let the public know. So at this time, there's no reason to listen to anyone else, because it's going to come from the Public Health Department, and we will send out information in the event that it does happen here. So we continue to monitor on a daily basis, and we'll keep you guys informed, and we'll, again, that whole information and the whole, protective measures that we ourselves as a public need to be doing, we've got to start and continue those probably for the rest of our lives.
Thank you, Sandra. Do we have any further public comment? With no further public comment, we will now move into the consent agenda. I'm
Mayor.
going to start with
Mayor.
Yes.
Would it be possible that we read the special announcement just to let everyone in the audience know in case they don't have a copy of the agenda?
All right, we are reading a special announcement. This meeting will recess at 9:45 a.m. to hold a special joint meeting with the Planning Commission. This meeting will reconvene at the conclusion of the special joint meeting. All right, with that, we will move into the consent agenda. I am going to start with Lane. Is there anything on the consent agenda that you would like to pull?
No, ma'am.
Lucy? No, ma'am. Harry?
No, ma'am.
Tom?
No, ma'am.
Tommy?
No, ma'am.
Then may I have a motion for approval?
Move to approve. So move.
Moved, motion by Lane, seconded by Harry. At this point, we will take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. With none opposed, motion passes 6-1. We will move into the regular.
6-0, Mayor.
6-0, what'd I say, 7-1? 6-1. Count, can't count today, can't talk today. All right.
You washed your tongue before you got here and just,
I did, I
you can't do anything with it,
sterilized
yeah.
All right, let's move into the regular agenda. And with that, comments regarding items on the regular agenda may be made by the public when each item is discussed as outlined above. Applicants, proponents, and appellants are accepted from the time limit above, and instead must limit their remarks to less than 5 minutes. The first item, A, consider a resolution accepting the Tom Green County, City of San Angelo Hazard Mitigation Action Plan 2020. And Jim, are you, yes, you're there. Come on up. Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
The plan that is being brought to you for adoption this morning is a hazard mitigation action plan. And this plan is a ranking of all of our hazards, all hazards. It was brought to my attention that, some of them may not be spelled out directly because the group that put this together looked at the top 3 or 4 major potential or more likely hazards or disasters for San Angelo. Then the latter part of the plan were projects to mitigate those hazards, such as flooding. I think flooding and wildfire were right near the top of both, and weather incidents. I know I had 2 projects in there myself, so what I'm asking the council to do is adopt this plan. Once it's adopted, it'll go to FEMA for final approval, and it'll be good for 5 years. With this plan, if we do have a disaster such as what happened in Nashville this morning, it will open up FEMA money for us for mitigation post-disaster if we get presidentially declared. Without this plan, that money will not be available to us.
Do I have questions? Do I have comments? Harry, would you like to speak?
Please. So in this plan, and I know it's very extensive, I mean, it's a long plan.
Yes, sir.
And I briefly talked to you before the meeting. I didn't see anything in here on pandemic. And to me, that's part of one of the hazards, not just because we're talking about the coronavirus, but I mean, there are other things in there. Is there a place in here, Jim, where I may have missed that?
It would probably be early in the plan when we discussed all the potential hazards and disasters that could occur here in San Angelo. And because it didn't rank in the top 3 or 4, there aren't projects that are specifically pointed at pandemics, but it was discussed. I was kind of brought in late on the group, so I kind of caught the tail end of it. So it is discussed in there briefly under where we discuss the hazards for this area.
So I would suggest that we adopt this plan, but we come back and make an addendum to include something that has to do with the pandemic. Want to make sure that is somewhere where it's on the shelf.
Yes, sir.
Tommy, I think you wanted to make a comment.
Comment or question, I wonder, is that duplication with the efforts that the health department undertakes in the pandemic situations to have it in the hazard mitigation plan, or?
Is a hazard the same as?
Is it the same thing, or is it
Because
different?
it seems like two separate things.
The hazard mitigation plan is a comprehensive plan, so we can cover that in this plan and not be duplicating effort. What we're telling FEMA is we've identified these as our potential hazards and disasters for this area. The plan is actually for the city and county, so the whole area was considered. And then we propose projects to mitigate those plans. So this is a mitigation plan only, it doesn't deal with the response planning or any other part of it.
I'm not opposed to having the pandemic in there. It was just merely a question if we were duplicating efforts, so.
Do I have further questions or comments? With none?
Harry made a motion.
No, he just asked a question, but are you going to make a motion?
A motion that we accept the plan as presented, but we should come back in, and whether it is in the hazard mitigation or whether or not we've got a separate policy so that all of our partners out there know that we are there, not only the county, but the hospitals and Goodfellow, ASU, school district, everybody that's a partner, that they know that plan is there and available so that they understand if we ever, God forbid, get into that situation, that we know exactly what the city's response is going to be. So with that.
That's a motion and a seconded by Tommy. Is there public comment concerning this resolution? With no comment on this resolution, let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
With none opposed, motion passes 6-0. Did I count that right?
Good job, Mayor.
Item B, consider authorizing a cooperative purchase of high-density mineral bond surface treatment, HA5, through an interlocal agreement with the City of Hurst, Texas, in the amount of $513,761.14, and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute all related documents. Patrick, you're on.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. I'm here this morning to do two things. One, give you an update on a pilot project that we performed last year, as well as seek your approval for a subsequent project this year in the application of high-density mineral bond, or better known as HA5, as a method of street preservation. I want to very quickly go over some of the presentation that we put before you last year and hit some of the high points of what HA5 is and what its purpose is real quick. If you'll remember, HA5 it's what we're looking for as an alternative to seal coat. We all know the issues that we have with seal coat. While it is an amazing product for preservation, politically and by the citizens, it's not a very popular application for streets. What HA5 does is it combines asphalt with high concentrations of aggregate, being the majority being slate, granite, and corundum, to provide not only a seal for the street, but also a friction course and a wear course for that roadway. The whole purpose of HA5 and this street preservation application is to just do exactly that, is to preserve the street and keep it from deteriorating and allowing water to get into that base structure and further degrade that street. One one of the nuances of HA5 is it has to be applied on a relatively good street. It's a preservation method, not a repair method. So what we want to do is we want to catch that roadway before it deteriorates too far. And so we apply HA5 over the top of it in order to keep the street from further oxidizing, keep that asphalt live, that hot mix live and pliable, so it can go through those environmental effects that are so detrimental to our roadways. Like it says there, it's meant to seal and preserve the streets. We have a 2-year warranty on it, and we expect to come back about every 8 years and reapply the streets that were applied, 8 years prior. Same cycle as our seal coat process. What we're doing is we're trading out streets that apply for that are applicants for HA5. We're removing those from our seal coat list and just adding them into this method. Real quickly, some of the pros and some of the cons of HA5. If you'll see there on the list, the pros really outweigh the cons in this stuff. It has a 24-hour cure time, which means that residents are going to be disrupted from driving on that road and accessing that road for 24 hours. Now in our pilot program, the vendor did an amazing job last year of both notifying the citizens as well as giving alternative routes and really helping the citizens so that they're not put out and so that they're not kept from their homes for an extended amount of time. Based on feedback we got from the residents, we didn't hear one single issue with that. Now I will kind of star that with the pilot area that we performed over in Prestonwood. It does have alley access, and it was a little easier to do. Some of the areas that we're looking at this year don't necessarily have that, but the vendors assured us, and we've talked to them at length on how that process looks and how he's going to facilitate citizens getting to and from their homes
Can you
during that
talk
period.
through that while we're on this subject? Because obviously, if your garage door is at the front of your house and there's no alley, where do you park and how do you get your house?
So that is one of the questions, the big questions. And the vendor's done this, they've been doing this for years, so they're well aware of it. So what they do is they not only provide notification, they have a text messaging application that they use to notify citizens, as well as on their flyer that they distribute and talk to the citizens door to door. They don't just hang a flyer on their door, but they actually verbalize and have a conversation with each resident along the roadway as to how to contact their shuttle service. They have a shuttle service and they have designated parking for residents along the street that have applied on that the application was put along in front of their homes. So they will shuttle citizens to their homes, from their homes, so that method can cure out.
Okay,
Now
but if it's a shuttle service, they have to use the street to shuttle.
But so what they're using is a golf cart, essentially, to shuttle residents back and forth. It doesn't have the same weight, the same grind as a vehicle would, all the turning movements, so straight line up, straight back, straight forward, no turning movements, just to give that product time to cure out. Now, I will say in the Prestonwood edition, it says 24 hours. They would close the street, apply. They had the street back open about 7:30 in the morning that next morning. So it's not a full 24 hours, but we use that term kind of as to give us a little bit of flexibility in that. So
What happens on an emergency service issue?
there is no problem. They'll move it out of the way and we'll go back and fix it. So that's the beauty of this product. If we have a skip, if we have some disruption or some tear out, it's simply a reapplication, and it's a seamless reapplication in that. So emergency services will not be interrupted. The guys are on site. The HA5 crew's on site, both during the application as well as afterwards. So the same crew that's applying is the same crew that's going door to door and talking. So they get out of their dirty clothes and they put on new clothes and fresh clothes and go talk to the citizens. So they actually can answer those technical questions as well. And they did an amazing job last year. Very, very happy with the vendor on that. Like we said, it is a little bit of a cost premium. There's fewer applicable roadways, but the cost premium is well made up by the extra work that we have to do as far as both prepping the road for the application as well as further cleanup afterwards. Our street sweepers aren't coming back 2, 3, 4 months afterwards and sweeping up some of the rock that has turned loose in a typical seal coat application.
So when you use the word cost premium, it sounds horrible. So talk about what the percent increase is over traditional seal coat.
So our traditional seal coat application is about $2.85 is where we budget that, and what we've been seeing where that application is coming in at. HA5 for this application is at $3.25. So it's about 40 cents, 45 cents in addition to that per square yard.
And what are the cost savings?
So the cost savings, again, is in follow-up applications that the city crews are performing. So we don't have inspectors and engineers running around talking to citizens, relooking at areas that the rock has let loose, or we have excess rock, or we need cleanup, or that the inspection process for our engineering group is much, much easier. We don't have to be on site 24, the whole time checking tickets and checking and strapping tanks and doing all of those checks and balances and making sure that rock application rates are right and all of those little nuances that go on along with a seal coat operation. So it's less taxing on our engineering inspectors as well, and the follow-up of our street and ridge and our stormwater departments for the street sweeping and sweeping up all that extra loose rock. We'll make probably 2 additional cycles through town, through those areas, just to sweep up the loose rock every year from
So net
from the
effect,
chip
it
seal
isn't a
process.
cost premium, it's pretty much a wash.
It's a wash. It's just, if you're looking at numbers on a piece of paper, it shows a premium, but if you look at the overall cost of this program, it's not a premium.
Okay. Lucy, go ahead.
I'm a little confused on your transport. Talking about picking people up from their homes,
Yes, ma'am.
where are you taking them?
Grocery shop or
Are you
to-
taking them to work?
No. So in each of these areas, they'll designate a parking area,
where you
a
leave
piece of
your
land that we
car.
can park their vehicles at, and then shuttle them from their vehicles to their
Well,
homes
thank
and back
you
and
for
forth.
letting me know, because I thought you were going to be all over town dropping up people in the golf cart.
Lucy
We're
was
not-
going to sign up for the service.
It is not a yellow golf cart, no. It's.
Lucy, Uber Lucy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Real quick on the screen, I don't know how well it necessarily shows up there, but that's a
shows pretty good.
Side-by-side picture of chip seal on the left and then HA5 application on the right side there. Obviously, it's a smoother, more aesthetically pleasing application than chip seal is, and again, we don't have all that loose rock and all those issues that come along with that process.
Patrick, does
Yes,
it
do you have a question, Tom?
Yes, ma'am. Does it self-level? I mean, like, coming into a lot of intersections, we have those itty-bitty small ripples, and when they put the traditional coat over it, you don't get rid of those. Will this help mitigate some of that and maybe self-level?
It does not give a rideability improvement. So if there's a bump in the roadway, there's still going to be a bump in the roadway. What this is it's a waterproofing membrane across. It's a sunscreen for the road is what it is. It's a waterproof sunscreen. So it keeps the UV light from penetrating that asphalt, taking out all the good stuff that keeps it live and oxidizing away and making that asphalt brittle. But it does not improve the rideability of the road. That comes in the preparation part of it beforehand. So, but to its credit, it does have a self-leveling quality to it in that if there is a tire track or a rut or something, eventually that does work its way back down and settle back out. So yes and no, but I think in the context of your question, no, it doesn't improve rideability of the road.
All right, any further questions at this point or comments? All right, continue.
So last year's pilot project is just that. It was a pilot project. We selected an area that was confined, that we knew needed some type of a preservation method. This area hasn't had a chip seal on it yet. It's what we considered a fairly new subdivision, and in reality, it's 15 years old. I mean, these roads it was time for an application, but so when we looked at the area, we knew it was a good candidate for this pilot project. And again, given the rear access to the homes just made it that much easier to walk into and kind of get a feel for the vendor and if they can actually live up to what they claimed, and I can say that they absolutely did. So the Prestonwood project in 2019, as of now, 6 months later, was a huge success. We've been looking at the roads, inspecting about every 3 months after. We don't have any delamination. We don't have any problems with the application of the product. It still looks good. You can kind of see the differentiation that back roadway there, the light gray roadway, is a newer road that was put in by the developer, so it didn't need an application at this point. And so you can kind of see the difference in the aesthetics of the product. It looks good. All the citizens, all the feedback that we got during that project, several citizens stopped and said, "What is this? Thank you for putting it in my neighborhood." Didn't give any negative comments. And it was, the second benefit of it is we engaged with a lot of citizens during this. They stopped and they talked to us, and we got to not only talk about this product, but educate them on what we're doing at the city as well as toward our roadways. So it really gave us an opportunity to do a little window time with the citizens and talk and educate a little bit. And so that was kind of an auxiliary benefit to the program. But everybody was happy. We worked well with the residents. We had some skips, some issues with notification that were taken into account this year, but everything was great. When we did skip, the vendor was able to come back, like I mentioned, and reapply, so we didn't have a light gray spot in the middle of a pretty black spot. So just a little close-up of a roadway there. This is a 6-month picture that I took last week of it. You can kind of see the application of HA5 as it transitions into that newer hot mix application there. And then too, just a full-length view of it. I don't know if you can really tell by the picture, but this particular roadway has a lot of construction activity going on along it. There's about 6 houses, I believe, not including the one with the blue roof there, that are going in. So it's seen a lot of construction traffic. And so I really wanted to get a picture of this roadway to show that despite that heavy use and that heavy traffic pattern, that it was still holding up and it was still performing like we expected it to at this point. So this year we want to kind of expand that project a little bit because of we were confident in it as of the application from last year. So we want to branch out and hit some of these other roadways that need that preservation method that hadn't necessarily had a seal coat application yet. So the first one is going to be that Lamar Elementary and that Twin Mountain area. We're going to be hitting all of those roadways up around, or all of those homes and residential areas up around Lamar Elementary, Schoolhouse Drive, all the way up into April and Avery and some of those other roadways up in there. So we'll be working all of those. The second little area is the Pecan Ridge subdivision down there by the river in the corner of the Loop in Bryant. We'll be doing that horseshoe right there, as well as those townhomes, that little T townhome and Kimmery, and that little cul-de-sac there off of Kimmery. And then too, we've been, Rio Concho Drive up by the sports complex needed an application as well. And so we said, while we're doing it, let's go ahead and look at the parking areas of the sports complex as well, because they're asphalt, they're pavement, and they see just as much damage through all the tournaments and everything that the rec division hosts. They see just as much deterioration as a roadway does. So
Is that, when you say Rio Concho Drive, is that from South Oaks all the way to Bell Street?
No, ma'am. It's from Bell Street into the sports complex is the only area we're doing there. So we're looking at that other section of Rio Concho Drive. We're going to have that engineered and redo that whole section of road to make it a nice, smooth,
The time frame
nice
on that?
road. We're working with the engineering firm. We're hoping to use I say it's an alternative method, but it's not. It's full depth reclamation. Should be a little cheaper, but yet resubstantiate the base material underneath that roadway, as well as provide a new wear course on top of it. So
Because it's really worn out.
yes, it is. It is, and we've
North Chandler.
that's not the first time we've heard it. So
Just to keep it top of mind.
It
It's
absolutely
really
is
worn
on the
out,
top of our
so-
priority list. We had to wait to get the IDIQ, some of those, purchasing steps out of the way before we could get through, but those are out of the way and we're moving forward on it now. So we're getting that, and hopefully we can get that going and get that done this year within this budget cycle.
Because a lot of people travel on that, particularly going to this building, and I'm not sure it gives the best spotlight on the city when they drive on
Right.
Rio Concho Drive, just saying.
Yeah, understood.
How's that going to be affected where the Benedetti tried to?
So we'll be milling
Process
off,
that.
we'll be milling off that surface. So it's, that surface and that application will be removed completely. We'll go down to the base material and reincorporate some type of an additive, be it lime, concrete, whatever the geotech firm determines and determines that mix design needs to be, so.
Sorry, I got you off topic. Go ahead.
It's okay. So again, like I said, we're going to be taking care of the parking areas in the sports complex too, which really should help the aesthetics of that facility as well. It's already a beautiful, very nice complex. We just want to enhance it. We didn't want to put chip seal in this on these parking lots. Again, it's a rough application, so rolling baseball bags and carts and coolers and all that good stuff across the parking lot just didn't really facilitate a chip seal application. So we were excited to try to use this as a preservation method for that complex, as well as give it, adhere to that aesthetic expectation of that complex as well. So what the recommendation is, again, this project is for $513,761, and just seeking your approval on to contract with Andale Construction to apply that this summer.
Do I have further questions and/or comments from council? With none, do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
So moved by Tommy. Do I have a second?
Mayor,
Oh,
could we
yes, sir.
get, Councilmember Hebert, if you would amend your motion to include the name of the company, Andale Construction. It was missing from the caption, so we just want to make sure that that's recorded permanently in the minutes.
Okay. I would move approval of the recommendation to purchase high-density mineral bond treatment to Andale Construction in the sum of $513,761.14, and authorize city manager to execute all related documents.
Very good. And I second.
Second.
And seconded by Harry. Do I have public comment? With none, we'll take a vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
With none opposed, motion passes 6-0. We'll move on to item C, consider allocating up to $476,100 for equipment replacement, safety improvements, and visitor enhancement projects from the Texas Bank Sports Complex fund balance for facility improvements. Carl, you're on.
In a way, this is kind of piggybacking on the last item to improve the sports complex. We're asking council to authorize some funds from the fund balance so we could do some purchases, replace some equipment, do some improvements, and add some items at the complex that will help support tournaments. It's the new clicker.
Just 1 second. Okay. Let him present.
Just a quick reminder of the location of the sports complex. It's facing, it's east, sorry. We have the Bell Street Lake here. This is Bell Street. There's 4 quads, quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, quad 4, and the city yard up here. As of December 31st, 2019, the fund balance was at $680,693. If we take the operating budget, annual operating budget of the complex and figure a 75-day fund balance reserve, that's $195,179, leaving a balance of $485,514, which could be utilized with your authorization. In categories of items that we'd like to purchase, utilizing the fund balance, first is some equipment replacement. As you know, the complex was built in 2009. We purchased the first initial round of equipment then. A couple of years ago, we did replace some of that equipment, about $200,000 worth, but we didn't replace all of the equipment. It was about $200,000 a few years ago. So This year, we're asking to replace a few more items that weren't replaced then. The large mower that's out there, the Toro 4700 mower, a 75 horsepower tractor, which is used to move materials, do applications of fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, aerify the soil. Replace the field line paint sprayers, which line the fields. Add an equipment storage structure at the back part of the yard close to the complex where we could store much of this equipment and a lot of the fertilizers and things that need better protection. We have seen, let me back up, we have seen some erosion problems at the complex. Most of it's sheet erosion that's leaving the site on this side, back here and back here.
You mean runoff?
Yes. Sheet, just erosion that's causing some cut into the ground. So we're looking to do some civil engineering assessments and address those issues. It's kind of like our bank stabilization problems that we've seen. Also looking to replace some of the covers of the dugouts. They're a vinyl fabric, and we need to replace those from time to time. Looking to replace many of those at $15,000. Do some repairs and work on 11 of the gates to improve their functioning and make it better, easy for us to secure those gates. That's all the maintenance-related items.
You want to stop there and let me just see if there's any questions from council or comments at this point? He's okay, so continue.
The tournament and rental support items. We don't have a good weather warning systems out there. We're looking to purchase 2 of those, one for quad 2 and one for quad 3, our most utilized quads. Typically what we use now is just our staff who is present utilizing applications on their smartphones. We need something that's better, more official, and can get the word out if there is a problem with a storm approaching. Next item is a restroom trailer.
Talk about this item because I think this is a great idea and something that can be utilized in various areas of recreational and or city-owned properties.
The weather warning systems?
The restroom trailer.
Oh, the restroom trailer, yes. We don't have restroom facilities at quad 4, it's the back quad. And when we do have large tournaments, we do need more restroom facilities. So this could be placed at quad 4, it could be placed at different locations where it's needed for big tournaments. It is mobile, so it could be used elsewhere if that's authorized, because we would purchase this out of the sports complex fund.
Like an event is going on at the River Stage that the city is sponsoring with so
Correct.
forth, it could be used there.
It could be.
I think that's an important idea.
It's mobile, it's on wheels, so it can be moved.
It's a whole lot cheaper than building a whole new restroom facility on quad 4.
You can move it. It's great. You can go to the pavilion. Yeah. Huh?
I'm going to let it go, Mayor.
Continue.
Looking to add some double batting cages between the quads, so 3 sets of 2. These are places where the athletes can come and practice batting in a batting cage. They'll be at the back side of the quads and would also include pitching machines. This is an item that we could rent out on an hourly basis, especially for tournaments and practices. Next item is 2 golf carts.
Because you said that, then you have established what those rental rates are going to be?
Yes, we will.
And the same thing with the restroom trailer, you will establish rental rates?
If it is included, I guess, yes, if it's included with the rental.
If they're using it at a complex or somewhere, then it would have a rate. If it's city function, then that's
sure.
different.
Yeah.
2 golf carts, and we use these primarily for the bigger tournaments, but also if there's a lot of people out there, we have a lot of staff there trying to get staff moved from one location to the next to address an issue to help facilitate the tournament. And also if folks have accessibility issues and can't get around easily, we can take them from the parking lot to where they need to go.
So we don't have golf carts now,
We have one. We're asking for 2 more.
okay?
And they're already, the maintenance crews have utility carts too, but they aren't used for the moving folks around. 4 scoreboards to replace 4 that were repurposed from the old Girls Fast Pitch Association complex when we first built the complex. 4 pitching mounds, and these would be a set of larger pitching mounds so that the teams with older kids could play. We have different sets of pitching mounds. This would give us more flexibility when we have older teams playing. The last item is a pavilion at the playground, and I guess I should back up. The playground's here. This spot right there was originally designed to have a pavilion, in part to meet the needs to call this location not only a sports complex, but one of the city's community parks. So this pavilion was originally designed at that location to host birthday parties, private events. It also, which we could also rent, it also could be used for tournament support for meetings, for gatherings for different teams and officials. So that's the last item we're asking for funds to utilize. Let me just summarize it.
Yeah, you go back to that screen.
The picture or the funding?
All right, do I have questions for Carl on this last line item of expenditures?
One
Tom?
quick question.
There's
Sure.
a summary.
Carl, are the carts electric or gas?
The golf carts are electric. Gas? I'm
Okay.
correct.
That's all I need. As long as they're gas, we're good.
All right, do I have, Lane, do you have a question?
This might go along with the needs for tournaments. I know with this last rain that we had a threat of canceling the last tournament. How the major leagues have the tarps that come out over the infield to prevent the mounds from eroding away and getting too slushy for the kids to play on. Have we priced anything like that out for preventative measures so we don't have to cancel tournaments on an inch rain?
I don't think that we have, but we could.
I think that might be a good idea to price that out, just so we don't have that threat of every time it rains of whether we have to cancel the tournament 3 days later or not and losing out on the revenues.
Let's just hope it rains enough that we need that.
Right.
That is a good problem.
It would be a good problem. Okay, further questions or comments for Carl? If not, do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
And a second by Lane. Do we have public comment?
Good morning, Council. This is Steve Hampton, District 6. I appreciate the opportunity to come up here. I think I appreciate what Carl does, and I'm a member of one of his boards. But I think that this is an over expenditure. I think this is kind of a money grab. The pocket is open, so let's get as much out as we can. I think we haven't been told how much this complex is making us. We don't know anything about its income. We also have not been shown any pictures on wear and tear to prove that some of these things, we bought additional tractors already just recently. Maybe it's been a year. It seems like time has passed, but we don't know how many hours are on the current tractor that we have. That's kind of like miles on a car, but so we don't have any history of maintenance problems. The canopies on the dugouts are fabric. Maybe we can switch those over to something that's a little longer lasting. We have the weather warning thing. I think we have a PA system out there. I think it's doing just fine. A lot of these things are nice, and to be completely sealed off from legal action, maybe optimal protection. But when reality comes around, we've been getting by without it, and we can continue to do well without it. So we don't have, like I said, we don't have any pictures, no proof. We just have desire. Thank you.
Further public Carl, you want to answer some of those challenges?
On the equipment replacement, we first bought all the equipment in 2009. We replaced most of the mowers, but not these two big equipment items, the tractor and the big mower. So most of this equipment's from 2009, so we're talking 11 years now that it's been used out there.
Can you speak to the weather alert system? It's not really a, hey, there's weather, it's a lightning strike system, is that correct?
Brent Casey, Recreation Manager. Yes, sir, that is correct. But it also, the one that we picked out, that we got the quotes for, it does do other things. So it does tell us of incoming weather, how to plan accordingly and things like that. So it does a lot more than just the lightning strike, but the lightning strike is one of the main concern. Everyone's looking at their phone when we're out there, and everyone's looking at a different app. And one says it's 12 miles away, one says it's 4 miles away. So that's our issue right now. So.
Is there anything that you believe in this laundry list of items is not necessary and is just a wish list?
If I was going to take away anything, it would be one of the golf carts. I feel we do definitely need at least one more, because if you have a tournament like we had a couple weeks ago with 122 teams at the complex, or there was a couple of teams playing in other areas, but 122 teams in San Angelo. From the time you pull in, unless you're an emergency vehicle with lights on, you're not going to get through very quickly. You have vehicles coming both ways and vehicles parked on both sides of the road. So it takes you a long while. So if you have people that, if we're on quad 4, myself or my staff, and we're all the way down on quad 4, and quad 1 calls and says, hey, I have an issue, someone's complaining about paying to get in, or whatever the case may be, there's an argument down here, I need help, whatever, it's going to take us a while, either in that one golf cart all the way down there, or getting in our vehicles and driving all the way through that traffic to get down there safely. If we have two, we could be able to get there quicker. The reason I wanted a utility one of those is actual utility one, is because the one that we currently have, we fold the seat down, we put the trash bags and everything on that. We've already had to replace that seat. So it is used to move people a lot. We have a lot of elderly people. Hey, can I get a ride up to this field or that field or whatever? And of course, we want to try to help those people the best we can, because it is a long walk on certain situations. But that one has already had to be replaced where we fold that down because of the trash leaking and everything else.
So this isn't just a we love to have it. These are necessary items to continue to keep the Texas Bank Sports Complex at a good level of performance and a good customer experience.
Yes, ma'am.
Do I have further questions from council? I do believe in the next couple of city council meetings, we would like an update on the performance of the Texas Bank Sports Complex, if we could see some financials on that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Do I have, I think I had already a motion and I've had a second. We've had some public comment. Do we have any additional public comment? With no additional public comment, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
With none opposed, motion passes 6-0. We will move into item D. Consider authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute a task order with KSA Engineers Incorporated under RFQ AP-02-15 for professional services in the amount of $169,541 for reconstruction of the entrance road to the San Angelo Regional Airport or Mathis Field, providing for an amendment of FAA PFC funding application number 11 and executing all related documents. Jeremy, you're on.
Morning, Mayor, Council.
Good morning.
Jeremy Valgartson representing the airport today. I just need to remind you about this project. This is a project that the prior airport administration brought to you in 2018. Actually, it was presented to you in 17, but it's been on our CIP, our local CIP, since 2018. But we're looking to rehab the entrance road, and we also had the parking lot as part of that project going into the airport. Oops. So let me just give you, and you can speed me up or slow me down. I don't know how much you know about this program, but let me give you a little background on the Passenger Facility Charge Program. So PFC stands for Passenger Facility Charge. When you fly out of San Angelo, one of the fees that you'll see on your ticket is a PFC, and that's $4.50 that the airlines collect, and then they distribute it to the airport. It's a restricted collection authority, meaning that we can only collect if we have approved projects, and I highlighted or underlined airline because airlines have to give their input. If airlines don't support the project, we may not get the project. We typically use, a lot of airports our size will use our PFCs as our match money, our 10% match when we have our grants with the FAA. At San Angelo, we collect roughly $260,000 a year through PFCs. About $110,000 of that goes towards our matching funds, which gives me a cash reserve at about $150,000 a year. That's assuming there's no discretionary, it's just a strict $1 million entitlement year. As I said, the initial PFC application was accepted by the FAA in 2018. And what that one showed is the airport entrance road of $1 million and the airport parking lot of $1 million. The FAA required us, when we put this application in, to start construction within 2 years. And as you saw, I only make $260,000 a year in PFC revenue, so we weren't going to reach that $2 million limit. PFCs are obligated through their useful life, so for asphalt, that's 20 years, meaning that it's under the FAA's guidelines on how we use that. And what that does is it prevents us from ever charging for parking in that parking lot for 20 years, for the life of that asphalt. Same thing with the entrance road. If we're going to use PFC monies, we can never turn the entrance road into a toll road if we ever wanted to do that, which I would not recommend. But
We would agree.
Engineering estimates for the road itself is about $1.6 million. That's just basic, remove and replace the asphalt and to fix a little bit of the concrete curb and gutter that's broken. Parking lots, we're looking at just over $2 million to rehab what's existing. And if you've seen those parking lots, there's some areas in there that really doesn't exist. So if we're going to do it correctly, we're much higher than that $2 million price range. So even with our engineering estimates in today's numbers and 2020 numbers, we'd barely get the entrance road done with that $2 million allotment that the FAA gave us. Our recommendations is to remove the parking lot from the PFC program, and this comes from public comment, it comes from the master plan. We've met several times about this project. The first issue is we don't have enough collection authority to do the parking lot and the entrance road with that $2 million. The master plan also has shown that parking is a good source of revenue. It's unrestricted revenue, meaning the FAA can't dictate how we spend it. So we can improve our terminal. We can improve other sources that the FAA money doesn't improve. We could earn up to $250,000 a year with our current configuration if we charge $3 a day in parking. So that's a side conversation, but if we choose to do the parking lots now, we would not be able to tap into that for at least 20 years. The other thing we're recommending is to amend the collection authority on their entrance road. We can get, just do a basic plan, or we can get new lights, new landscaping. We can improve the look of the entrance road, and we could be up to leaving a little over $2 million. Here's some pictures that shows the entrance road. The thing I really liked about this estimate is the whole entrance into the terminal would be concrete. We're starting to see some rutting because the Pepsi trucks and some of the food trucks are coming in, and the buses are causing some rutting in that area. Here's the basic scope. This does include design. We're looking at $1,645,005. This, like I said, would remove and replace existing asphalt, new above-ground concrete inlets. We're getting a lot of silt in those inlets, and it's not allowing the water to get into the above-ground draining system. So if we put concrete around it, we could hopefully avoid that silt buildup. As I said, pave the entryway into the terminal, and it would give us some new signs, and it's enhanced signs, and that's the way that we present it to the FAA. It's not an improvement, because improvements are not eligible, but enhancements are. Another portion of this that is eligible could be, it's not decorative light poles. I need to put enhanced light poles. Enhanced light poles, we could put that out there, and it is PFC eligible. That would increase the cost. We're looking at $1.9 million and some change. What this would do, and if we put the LED lamps out there, that would transition the bill over to the airport's budget to pay for that monthly utility bill. estimated about $864 a month, which would hurt my budget, but if it's something you wanted to support, we could figure out a way to do it. Here's just the scope of the project. You see all the yellow. We really do from Knickerbocker all the way into the terminal. It's basically all the asphalt that the airline would be able to use for passenger service and also for their maintenance crew coming in and out. We've had some requests from Airport Board and from a few of you on City Council of doing some landscaping out there. Landscaping is not eligible. If we did want to do this, it would have to be something that the city came up with the funds to do. We're looking an additional $161,000 to do that, just kind of in that middle island as you enter the airport. So here's the engineering estimates, and all this includes design and construction. But for the basic plan, you can see the numbers there, and basic plus lighting, which is all eligible to use our PFC dollars to use. And then if we throw some landscaping in, I mean, there's a range here on what you guys would like to do with this project.
So option 3 is landscape and basic, but not lighting.
Correct. Here's the challenge. As I said, I don't have enough money in my PFC budget to do this. And we knew that when we put the application in that we wouldn't have enough money to do this. So my budgeted year-end amount for FY 2020 in my PFC reserve fund is $938,156. As I said, this is all PFC eligible, which means we can reimburse if the city does, however the city is able to come up with the funds, we are able to reimburse that fund, however long it takes, using PFC restricted dollars to do that. I already went through this, but projected yearly revenue about $250, yearly entitlements a little over $100, so we should be able to pay the city back at about $150,000 a year if you choose to, but that does not include any discretionary money. So if the FAA comes with a big $5, $10, $20 million grant, we wouldn't have the matching funds in the PFC balance because we'd be paying that back to the city as a debt service. And as I stated earlier, we cannot reimburse any expenses for landscaping. So here's the summary, and I know this gets a little challenging because you have not approved the debt service yet, or any of the improvements, road improvements. So what we need to approve today is we need to get an application amendment going to number 11 because the FAA gave us that 2-year time frame. So we'd like to receive approval from you to amend application number 11 to remove the parking lot project and increase the collection authority on the entrance road itself. And we need to know, we can do engineering estimates and come back to you and give you an actual number on what we're going to put in the application, but we do need to amend that application number 11. Any questions?
Let's start with Tommy.
More of a comment. I have the opportunity to go to Tyler because we have a granddaughter that's in college there at Tyler, and went by the airport out there literally 2 weeks ago, and it is nice. And it is not that different than our airport in terms of size. But the entrance to the airport is very appealing when you drive by just from the highway. I'm going to say for the council's benefit, I support option 4 because we have got some things that are starting to percolate out there at the airport that we need to have, in my opinion, one council member's opinion, we need to have this something that is very attractive because some of the things that are beginning to happen out there. So I'm going to be supporting option 4, just FYI for the council, but this is something I think we need to do, and I think we can address the cost of this whenever Tina comes up here, if I'm understanding correctly.
I support option 4 as well. I strongly believe that we have some great assets in this community, and one of them is the airport. And I think if you take a look at the number of people who fly into San Angelo, you want to make sure that they have the best possible reaction to what the city looks like. And that means that's one of the first things they're going to see is the quality and how much we believe in and support and want to project out about the airport and about San Angelo. So I strongly believe that this project will do what we need it to do. It will enhance the airport. It will enhance the visitor experience. It will ultimately enhance San Angelo because that airport is an asset, and we need to take care of it like a very important asset. So I agree with Tommy that option 4 is, in my mind, the best possible solution. Do I have further questions or comments? Harry, do you have something to say?
Well, I guess Tommy alluded to the fact is that Tina may have found the additional funding. I think for citizens' benefit, we should hear that, and then we can go ahead and move forward with this.
Good morning, Council. Tina Diersky, Director of Finance. We are going to propose a debt issuance in the next agenda item. With that, we are proposing to use the fund balance that's in the debt service fund right now, approximately $1.5 million, to front-load the debt issue and include this entrance road project with the next street debt issue. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
And so with that, any options that come into play with the landscape, the design, and the project, we could say is covered with the debt issue. So
Okay.
there wouldn't be any interference with that.
All right. With that, then do I have a motion? Did you have a comment, Lane, before I move on?
Well, I'll make the motion with this comment. I'll move to approve. I'm in support of option 4 also. But let me say this, San Angelo is a strange beast when it comes to flying out of San Angelo. People would almost rather go to Austin, which I see a lot, which is ridiculous to me, to fly out because of the rates. With that being said, that conversation is going to be completely separate whenever we start charging for parking, because that's almost one of the only leverage points that we have to say fly out of San Angelo at this point, because we do not charge for parking. I know funds are tight. We need to figure out revenue streams for this type of project because, I'm in agreement. The airport is an amazing asset that we have, and that's one of the routes that business owners come in and out of, and whenever they drive out to come into the city and they see just a okay little entrance, they're first off, they're thinking, what kind of town is this? If we kind of make that a little bit appealing, they're gonna want to come back. A little oasis on the concho.
Councilmember Carter, would you be willing to modify your motion to approve today the FAA application 11 and then to approve the funding for the task order contingent on the second reading of the budget amendment at our next council meeting?
My motion.
Second.
This is it. Tina, you wanted to add?
May I just clarify one thing? I think that with the funding proposal, we'll have to bring that back anyway when you actually get the plan and the project in place. So we would propose that the first $1.5 million, like we said, comes from debt service. The remainder would be coming from the PFC fund balance.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Do I have public comment?
Steve Hampton. Excuse me, I think I have a coronavirus or something. Was it the PFC that you came and commented on, one of your...
Please talk into the microphone. You're talking to us, not him.
Yes,
Ask
ma'am.
us.
Was it the PFC, the price of the PFC 450 that comments were made on in previous visits to the council as being too high? Also...
you mean the $4.50?
$4.50.
That's not our option. We don't get to vote on that number.
Yes, ma'am.
Signed to us by the airline.
Well, it's already high, is what I'm thinking, and how many? My question to the council is: how many complaints have you had on the entrance of the airport? I think it's the lot across the street from it now that's drawing such attention. And I don't, you know, the mesquite trees will grow plentifully out there if we let them grow and don't keep cutting them off. Therefore, I don't see that the landscaping is an issue. We haven't, we're just, and I think on a day when people should be voting, here we are spending money like it's going out of style. Also, and additional, you're going to sell more, you're trying to try to add this to the revenue certificates of obligation, which is going to only increase that, which is going to be another point of contention.
Tina can answer that question in just a minute. Do you have further comments?
Well, I haven't finished. Did my time run out?
No, I'm just asking.
Thank you.
If you have other financial
Thank you,
questions
Mayor.
for Tina, she'll address them in a minute.
Well, I think I am finished. Thank you.
All right, Tina, you want to address that issue?
As you'll see in a few moments in my presentation, this will not increase the property tax rate, and you know that our debt is serviced by the property tax rate. In addition, the money that has built up in the fund balance of the debt service fund is due to favorable property valuations, as well as a delay in issuing debt as soon as we thought we might have. And so that money that is in that fund balance is only eligible for debt service.
With that, any further public comment? With none, we'll take a vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. We will move into item.
Mayor, it's 9:45.
I know we're going to do item E, and then we will adjourn. Consider resolution directing publication of notice of intention to issue combination tax and revenue certificates of obligation to provide funds for street improvement projects and resolving other matters relating to the subject. Since this is a follow-up to the motion we just approved, I think it's important we get it done before we adjourn.
While we're waiting on that, I think it's just a one-slide presentation. Basically, what we've already discussed is issuing $17.5 million in certificates of obligation to fund various capital improvements. With that would be the $16 million that we have a plan to issue every other year for 10 years for street reconstruction and improvement. They'll be amortized over 20 years, and again, these certificates will not increase the INS tax rate.
Do I have questions for Tina or comments? Do I have a motion?
So move.
So moved by Harry, seconded by Tommy. Any public comment?
Who's on the line when and if these things fail? How much total city debt do we have already? This is going in for streets. We have already, this is the third time around, so that means we're up to like 35 million already on streets. We have MLK finished. What's the status on Bell? It's been in operation for several years now, and yet it seems to be unfinished.
It was always meant to be a 3-year project. We're not up the 3-year
Mayor,
project.
you're interrupting me. Would you hold your comments, please?
No, I will address the issues as you present them.
You want to shoot for a total of 87.5 million, and yet we haven't got any finish on or a resolution on the finishing of these streets. So, and then we're talking about adding more different kinds of toppings to other streets, and also downtown we want to put pretty stones at a high expense so we can watch them turn black as we drive over them. You know, we seem to we have a lot of wants. We don't seem to have anybody on the council that will say, no, this is enough, or let's wait until we've paid off something. I would, and with the changing of the the stock market in recent days, how is that going to affect interest rates? It could possibly go down because there's a loosening of the Fed, but we have no guarantees on that. Thank you.
Tina, thank you.
Mayor, I apologize. I didn't introduce Vince Vial. He's our financial advisor from Specialized Public Finance, and I would like for him to come up and answer that question.
Okay.
Mayor, council members, good morning. For the record, my name is Vince Vial with Specialized Public Finance. We're the city's financial advisor. I think what Tina is referencing, we just got information this morning. The Federal Reserve has decreased the federal funds rate this morning by 50 basis points due to the coronavirus concern in the economy. So rates are going down. There are some economists also right now that anticipate a further reduction at the Fed's open meeting, market meeting, March 17 and 18. So we may see a further reduction at that time.
Thank you very much. With that, we will take a vote on item E. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. We will now break for our 9:45 special meeting.
Mayor?
Yes, please.
If we could, please, these two want to refinance some old debt with some of that new low-interest money, and I think they're going to be, it's a couple of short agenda items.
We will do them following the special session.
Okay.
At 11:10 a.m. We will start with item F. Consider adopting the following ordinances. 1, consider adopting an ordinance authorizing the issuance of City of San Angelo, Texas, general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2020, establishing procedures and delegating authority for the sale and delivery of the bonds, leveling an ad valorem tax, providing for the security and payment of said bonds, providing an effective date, and enacting other provisions relating to the subject. And 2, consider adopting an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of City of San Angelo, Texas, waterworks and sewer system revenue refunding bonds, taxable Series 2020, establishing procedures for the sale and delivery of the bonds, providing for the security for and payment of such bonds, and authorizing and enacting other matters and provisions relating to the subject. And Tina, you're on.
Yes, ma'am. Tina Diersky, Director of Finance. So this first refunding bond, I'll just remind you quickly of how a refunding bond works. It's similar to if you refinanced a house. It basically causes you savings over the life of the bond by reducing the interest rate that we're paying, okay? So we're reviewing some 2011 and bonds that we're trying to refund right now. It'll save the city about $40,000 a year. There's about between 4 and 5 years left on that issue. And so total, it'll save about $190,000 over the life of the bond. For this one, it's a little different. We are not exactly recommending that we refinance it yet, but we would like to give permission to Vince Vial and his folks to do that if when we go to sell, the present value savings is at least 3% or greater. And Vince is here too if you have any questions on how all of that works.
What's the life of the bond?
I believe this was a 15-year bond, and it was issued in 2011, so it should be finished. I think it's a 15-year bond, so that's why I said between 4 and 5 years are left on it. And It does not increase the term or the length of the bond.
All right, do you all have questions for Vince? Would you like him to come forward and explain in further detail anything on this refunding bond issue? If not, then may I have a motion?
So moved. Do we have to do this in two separate?
I read them as one item, so, all right, so there's a motion by Harry, second by Lane. Any public comment? With no public comment, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
With none opposed, motion passes 6-0. The last item on the regular agenda is item G, first public hearing and introduction of an ordinance amending the budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019, and ending September 30th, 2020 for capital items and projects.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 2 budget amendments before you today. One is for the KSAB, Keep San Angelo Beautiful revenue and expense coming from support from the landfill fund for the projects that they brought to you at the last council meeting in the amount of $50,000. And the second one is the amount that was just requested for the airport design element for the roads out there. This again, this number has been updated in correlation with what you did direct us to do as far as design. So the 189,441 is for design on that project.
Do we need to approve an updated number? The 189
This is the updated number. We did
for-
change the slides.
for option 4?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, are any questions or comments before the motion is made? With none, may I have a motion to approve?
So move.
So moved, seconded by Lucy. Any public comment? With no public comment, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
With none opposed, motion passes 6-0. We will now move into executive session. Executive session under the provision of Government Code Title V, Open Government Ethics, Subtitle A, Open Government, Chapter 551, Open Meetings, Subchapter D, exceptions to requirement that meetings be open under the following sections. A, 551.072, deliberations about real property regarding 1, Angelo Heights Addition, Block 15, and B, 551.071, consultation with attorney regarding 1, the Ford Ranch, and 2, West Texas Water Partnership. So at this point, we will leave this regular agenda, move into a closed session, and we'll return when completed. At 11:30 a.m., there are no issues to discuss on decisions made in executive session, so we will go to item 10B, which is consideration of approving various board nominations. The Civic Events Advisory Board, Clara Fries, SMD 6, to a first term ending December 2021. Economic Development Corporation, Edward Carrasco, SMD 1, to a third term, and William Dendel, SMD 2, to a third term, both ending February 2022. And the Public Art Commission, Ann Shahan, SMD 4, to an unexpired term ending April 2021. So may I have a motion for approval? A move.
Second.
Got it done. And any public comment? With none, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Counting today is a problem. This is 5. Okay, so announcements and consideration for future agenda items. Are there any? With none, we will move to adjournment.
We adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
All 5 of us agree. Bye.